All right, Nick, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, officially the offseason for the Falcons. So we're looking at moves the Falcons potentially could make, and I think there's a really good one on the horizon for the Falcons. A trade of sorts that would be really advantageous for the Falcons to move off someone with a lot of potential that hasn't quite lived up to it yet. Before we get into all that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Falcons setting themselves up for a potential trade of a asset, someone they invested a lot of draft capital into. Obviously, we're talking about tight end Kyle Pitts, the athletic phenom from Florida. Guy looks really good. He just hasn't lived up to expectation with the Falcons. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, from SI.com. Says ESPN's Ben Solak dropped an interesting trade idea for the Bengals and a former top 5 draft pick. He thinks Cincinnati should go after Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts. Says tight end Kyle Pitts is due $10.8 million on the final year of his deal in 2025. Solak wrote, "Can the Falcons get more for him in a trade than they would in a compensatory pick after he left in free agency? I think they could. And as he has a rosier future on an offense that actually fits his skill set, my prediction is Pitts will get dealt to the Bengals for a day 3 pick. That could be a nice flyer opportunity on Pitts' ceiling, especially if Cincinnati come to an agreement with T. Higgins. There are plenty of different routes the front office can take over the next few months. But outside of those routes, I think this is a really good move for the Falcons to kind of try to drive Pitts towards Cincy or trade him in general. I think this is the smart play for the Falcons to try to get something out of this investment. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick, but before we get to you, Falcons fans, in the comment section below, let us know what your thoughts on Pitts are. Do you think he turns the corner and makes the breakout? It's kind of hard to believe that with this team the way it is at this point in time, but you never know. Let us know. Do you think they should trade him and get something while they still can, or do you think they take their chances, roll the dice in his final year with the Falcons, paying again that $10.8 million? Got to remember that part. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest idea for the Falcons?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I think it's exactly what the Falcons need when it comes to Kyle Pitts. Because look, they've given him every chance, right? They give him a lot of opportunities. Obviously, offensive styles change from his first couple of years in the NFL to this past season. He gets fed the football a decent amount. We obviously remember that atrocious turnover when Michael Penix Jr. took over the reins at the quarterback position. But overall, if you look at his just production versus the targets he gets and his grade according to Pro Football Focus, he was 17th in targets, average, right middle of the pack in the NFL, 32 teams in terms of starting tight ends. He was 46th in PFF receiving grade, right? That's not even factoring in blocking or anything like that. He is 46th in receiving despite 17th in targets. That is not efficient, right? The more targets you get, you theoretically should be continuing to become a better and better player and have your grade improve. Pitts, it went the other way. That's a bad sign. Moving off of Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense. I'm reminded very similar to when the 49ers drafted Trey Lance and they gave up a lot of draft capital to move up and select Trey Lance in the top 10 a number of years ago, quarterback out of North Dakota State. And after a few years, they're like, he's not really our guy. We like this Purdy kid. Let's try and offload him. And they offloaded him to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. And a lot of people thought, wow, that's not bad value for Dallas. Trey Lance was a top 10 pick. A lot of people thought he had a chance to maybe be the next Patrick Mahomes, and they got him for a 4th-round pick. Now, a few years later, it's looking like 49ers really won that trade. Offloading Kyle Pitts, getting that 10.8 million bucks of cap space back in your pocket, and getting a 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, whatever they get for him, would be a huge win, because that 10.8 million bucks, if you look at it and how critical it is to the roster, it really matters. 10.8 million is more than London is getting, is more than Ellis is getting. If you're able to get that dollars back from Kyle Pitts, you can easily draft a backup with your, not a draft his replacement, excuse me, with that draft pick, and then find another key player with that extra 10.8 million bucks. It just makes sense. And you're going to get a team like the Bengals, like the Dallas Cowboys were reaching for a quarterback. You'll get a team like the Bengals who are reaching for another playmaker. I think a trade to Cincinnati makes the most sense, and I think it's actually got a really good chance of happening.
Yeah, Nick, and I think the key here is for Falcons fans is you're not gonna get this opportunity. Rarely does a guy go through the first 4 years of his career He's declined every year since he has been with the Falcons, especially looking at his PFF grades. 80.3 that first season, 72 the second season, 68.1 third season, and now a 59.6 this fourth season. But still, the aura, the thought around Kyle Pitts is he's still very athletic, a gifted and talented playmaker, and there's something to be had with him still. People are still, kind of entertained with the idea of, hey, maybe we are the offense. It was the Falcons' offense that wasn't the right fit. It wasn't Kyle Pitts. So I really think you need to capitalize on that opportunity of teams really buying in that Pitts, he has the athleticism to be a threat, and a team, like you said, like the Bengals, really has all of the opportunities in the world for Pitts to be successful. So I think offloading him to a team like that to get as much as you can draft capital wise is going to be great. You got to load up this team, give Michael Penix the opportunity to take over the helm with a clean slate, with the most options he has as far as building on the defense, making sure the offense is great. I think this was a really good opportunity for the Falcons to capitalize on what other teams see in Pitts.